Welcome to the show, everybody. Haley!
Thank you.
The crowd's going wild. Their hands are flicking on and off, I assume, in the party chat. Oh my gosh, they can't. It's overwhelming. Haley, welcome to Party Chat.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be on it.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Have you been on Party Chat? I dug through the history. You were on the MinnMax's show back in like 2021, but have you been on Party Chat before?
No, I mean, I've been part of the Patreon forever, but I don't think I've ever actually hopped in before.
Okay.
I should have, though.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Well, welcome to the crew. For people who say, Haley, that sounds a little familiar, do you want to give the full biography? Give us your journey, Haley.
My MinnMax lore origin.
Yeah, and you can like throw in some lies in there too, like whatever you see fit.
Oh, interesting. 2 truths and a lie.
That's right.
Origin. Okay.
That's right.
Well, yeah, I started as an intern at Game Informer back in 2016, which is seven years ago. That's frightening. Anyways,
that's gross. Okay, stop. All right, let's unpack it. What was your first day as an intern like? Like walking into the office, maybe the first time. Things that surprised you, things you didn't expect, all that good stuff.
Well, what I'm glad I did is before our first day, the other interns and I, Leo, Blake, and AJ, we met first. So at least we were nervous together, and then we went in together. But just that office is the coolest place to like walk into. There's nerd stuff everywhere. The vault, you guys like took us around the vault and just like showed us all that stuff. It was very overwhelming for like a nerd like me, because I've only ever worked as like a dentist receptionist. To go from that to like, here's a vault of every game ever. Like, that was super fun.
So Game Informer interned for a couple months? How long was that?
Like 5-ish months back then, I think, or maybe 4.
I feel like that little
summer stint.
That little detour of before going into the office, meeting up with AJ and Leo Vader and Blake. Like, I wonder how important that was, because I'm trying to think of other batches. I think you are the tightest intern crew. Like we
are very proud that we are the tightest. We like still are like, we're not the best. That's rude. But we're the best of friends. How about that?
I mean, look, there are other highlights. Jacob Geller's fine. But in terms of specific tight group, hang on, we have Game Informer watching us live saying, give us our office back. Oh, that's fun. Turns out this is Blake watching us live on Twitch. He says, hi, Haley. Blake, that's me.
Interns. Blake, get out of here.
Get out of here, Blake. Come on, man.
Just kidding. I love you, Blake.
But it is, so then you all formed a podcast called Game Query that went on for years and years.
Yes.
It would never end in a good way.
I think our podcast had beef with yours, but yours was so popular they didn't even notice our beef.
I probably listened to like 7 episodes of Game Query. I'm sorry I wasn't more thorough with it, but
a decent amount.
What was the beef? This is a good opportunity if you want to lay into it now.
God, I can't remember. Maybe Blake will remember better. Yeah, he said we're still beefing in the Twitch chat. I can't remember what the beef was. It was like 2018 that we were beefing, but I'm sure it wasn't too eventful or bad. I'm sure it was probably that we tried to start a beef and you didn't reciprocate.
Right. So that's sad. I think that's sad. Yeah, like I don't know. I'm not really into like the whole online beef thing. Just in general.
It was just our way to claw a bit of relevance. I think.
I mean, you did it. You nailed it. Okay, so you wrapped up the Game Informer internship and then you went back to Nova Scotia?
Yeah, I went back and I worked freelance game stuff for a few years. I got to go to E3 in 2017. That was super fun.
Nice.
But other than that, it was just working from my home and then also working retail. And then I went to law school shortly after that. We're also working freelance a bit during law school, but considerably less because law school surprisingly takes a lot of time and is kind of annoyingly hard.
Yeah, it's a classic hard thing. I want to unpack all that stuff as much as you can talk about. But the freelance stuff, is that like freelance journalism stuff or consulting or?
Yeah, I worked for Twinfinite and they were super cool about letting me do almost kind of the bare minimum while I was in law school. So I worked for them as a contributor for like 5 years or something like that, like quite a long time. So it was kind of nice to have just one place that I wrote for, so I didn't have to spend whatever time I did have like searching for gigs. I just only wrote for Twinfinite for quite a while.
Yeah.
And then once I started law school, I just kind of did the things that got the most clicks that were easy to write, like Sims 4 mods this month. Like,
oh no,
it sounds boring, but oh my god, I got so many clicks from that kind of stuff.
That's the secret to the future of games journalism, is just those types of easy clicks.
Stardew Valley mods. Like that's just kind of all I did.
Oh
But it
God.
worked. It was good.
Nice. And then you worked your way through law school. I mean, hardest thing you've ever done going through law school?
Uh, it's it's interesting because I think anyone could go to law school as long as you enjoy reading and writing. Like, I don't want to make it sound too scary and potentially defer someone from being like, I could do that, because I think honestly anyone could.
Hmm.
It's just a lot of, you have to be really focused on actually reading things, because it's very easy to skip some readings and then all of a sudden the exam comes up and then they're trying to scare you and saying 20% of you will fail, doing the classic kind of like
Oh
Legally
God.
Blonde tactic.
Right.
And you're
That's
like,
what
oh
it's
God,
called.
I hope it's not me. So there's a lot of anxiety around it, but it's not impossible. It's just a lot of reading and a lot of writing. That's just all law school is.
Yeah. And can you talk about like, I don't know, you don't need to get specific with the firm if you don't want to and stuff, but like the area of law that you're focusing on?
I can get specific with the firm. The firm's called Voyer Law. So it's based in Vancouver, BC, but we have lawyers that practice in the US as well. So called to the bar in California, New York, Washington, and then some the provinces. It's like BC, Ontario, Nova Scotia. So we do a lot of cross-border stuff, like helping companies who are trying to expand into new jurisdictions. But I kind of came on because I had that passion for video games and video game law. Like,
Yeah.
not that video game law is so specific that I could only practice that. It's like a lot of just corporate, like understanding basic corporate law. But game devs have really cool IP problems that, like, if you went to another IP lawyer, they might just be like, "Oh, like I don't even know what you're talking about." But because I had the background in knowing about games, that kind of helped to then understand the legal issues that could be implemented into those things.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I kind of came on and with a big passion for that. So a lot of I would say like 90% of my clients are game devs, which is awesome because they are just the sweetest people in the world. I'm sure interviewing them all the time.
Yeah.
And it's just awesome to work with them and essentially start with them when they're small and like get new, like they'll send me emails being like, we got the publishing deal, we can make the game now, like that kind of stuff I find really rewarding.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of corporate law, like just basic, like doing incorporations, doing basic filings and stuff, but there's a lot of that kind of cool aspect of well, which I feel like isn't very unique with the practice of law, that I'm like actually excited what's going on every day, you know
Right.
what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good niche for sure. Like, I don't want to spoil anything about the Double Fine documentary that I've been obsessed with, and I guess Blake, if he's watching in the chat, we're also but two of us are very obsessed with this, the Psych Odyssey documentary. But in that, at a certain point, like one of those fascinating little tidbits is they're getting acquired by Microsoft, and they're talking about like all the paperwork involved, and then Tim Schafer's like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we needed to actually like prove that we owned Brutal Legend, which we thought we did, but then like finding the
Oh my
paperwork on
gosh.
that is like something else entirely. Is that a general arena of something that you'd like help out with, or is it separate from that type of thing?
That's such a huge problem because people don't, especially when you start out early, you're so small, it's maybe just you working in your house, that
Right.
sometimes those initial things you're making, because when you make intellectual property, it's owned by you, unless you're an employee, right? And you're making it during the course of business for your employer, then it's automatically owned by your employer.
Right.
But if you're just sitting at home and making stuff, it's owned by you. So a lot of companies come to us and they've been working on their game for 5 years or something, and they want to incorporate. Well, it's like, well, how do we transfer those assets into the company? We can't just transfer it for $1, like a lot of the time, because arguably that has value. You're about to sell it for X amount of money to a publisher, so we can't just pretend on Thursday it's worth $1 and then sell it to the publisher, work with the publisher the next day for $1 million. So it's
Right.
kind of it's difficult. You have to kind of value that IP and do the due diligence and go back and be like, wait, the guy who made all the music 5 years ago, did we get him to sign anything? And it's like,
Right.
oops, no. Now you got to go find that guy and get him to transfer everything. Otherwise, he technically still owns it.
So everybody else's nightmare, that's your fertile ground for a career.
A little bit, I guess.
Okay,
Yeah.
I got it.
That's
Well, thank you for jumping on as community manager. We can definitely bring up some of the mods to talk about it if you're all down for it here. But you don't have
yeah.
to lay out a grand vision, Haley. But like, do you have a sense of just like what you're looking forward to with community managing in the MinnMax Discord?
Well, if there was a community to manage, I'm glad it's this one. I mean, you guys have clearly fostered a super awesome group of people that even just, I mean, I've been part of the Discord for, geez, years now, I guess. And it's just a nice, happy zone, right? Like that's where you want to be. And I think just maintaining that level of niceness.
Yeah.
The internet is such a scary, awful place. I'm on Twitter. I know how awful people can be, but not here. It seems like not here.
This was a clip from Party Chat, our Patreon exclusive podcast that airs every single Monday. The podcast features cohorts and friends of the show, contributors, talking directly to the MinnMax community. So if you're looking for even more podcasts from MinnMax, this is the place to go. Just head to patreon.com/MinnMax with 2 N's, support us at the $5 tier, and you can listen to Party Chat every single week. Thanks so much, everybody. We appreciate it.